Hello, everybody. Welcome, LinkedIn Nation. I'm Steve White. Welcome to the August edition of LinkedIn Live with Steve White. It is such a great opportunity to be here with you today. I hope you're having a great summer. I know we are. It's going way too fast. But again, thank you for joining. Let me tell you why we do this LinkedIn Live on a monthly basis. We talk a lot about the two most important days in your life is the day you're born. The second is when you know why. Well, I learned early on in my career, because so many people had given me a hand up, that my biggest opportunity, my reason for being here, how do I create a table of prosperity for as many people as possible? So through life successes and failures, sharing those stories to help you and others on their journey really is my life's calling. So again, we've got an exciting show for you today. Welcome again to LinkedIn Live with Steve White. We talked about why we do it. Let me first of all say thank you to all of you that follow me on social media, on LinkedIn and Facebook primarily, that visit my website, stevewhitespeaks.com. You can go and check it out. I like to believe we've created a learning lab where you can go hang out and spend some time on the website and learn about leadership and successes and failures. Thank you for all of you who have purchased my book, Uncompromising, which came out last March, that we've had a lot of fun with a lot of success. So if you haven't checked it out, go to my website. You can read parts of the book there, and then you can determine if it's something that you want long term. So buckle in. We've got a great session for you today. Today's subject is all about mastering your attitude and your effort. Let me say that again. There's only two things that you truly can control in your life. One, your attitude, and number two, your effort. And when you can master that, when you can stay in control of your effort and your attitude, great success can happen. Let me say that one more time. I'm not saying you always got to see life through rose-colored glasses. I'm not saying that. But having a positive attitude and having a positive outlook and recognizing things will happen to you that are not always positive, but how you respond really is critical. And then secondly, effort. We're not talking about working 24/7. We're not saying, not have a life, not have a family, not have fun. Not saying that. But being in control of your effort and where you spend your time and how you spend your time, I truly believe is a key to unlocking long-term success. So let's buckle up. And as opposed to going at it alone today, I decided to invite one of my road dogs. We've talked about road dogs a lot. A fight breaks out, they've got your back. So I wanted to invite my road dog, Tina DeSalvo, to join me today to talk about this idea of mastering your attitude and effort. Tina is someone that I've known a very long time. We've worked together. She's only 19 years old, but we've worked together 15 of those 19 years. Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm so great, Steve. So good to be here with you. Good morning.
I am so glad to have you. So as opposed to me introducing you formally, why don't you tell a little bit of folks about who are you and what do you do and what is the sole purpose?
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, the Sole Purpose is an organization that helps leaders like yourself and who are leading teams and trying to shift culture become more aware of itself. So, more aware of your own inner world as a leader and more aware of the culture that you're leading so that we can bring out the best in the collective intelligence in the organization.
Well, full disclosure, Tina and I have worked together. She's helped me with my organizations in the past. She's a great leader, great coach, and better than that, she's a great person. And I wanted her to share some of her wisdom. So, Tina, if you're ready, let's jump in. Mastering attitude and effort. I know you love this. You truly believe you can control what you can control. But let's start with this whole notion, because I use the words interchangeable, quite honestly, because I don't think one works without the other sometimes. You can have great effort and have a bad attitude, or you can have a great attitude but no effort. Things aren't going to really work. So they really kind of work together. So why don't you share why this is so important? Why this idea, mastering your attitude and effort, is so important to long-term success?
Yep. So for me, they're interdependent, and I use probably the word mindset a little bit more than attitude, but for me, they're interchangeable. And so I start with mindset. because my mindset, how I view the world, how I view this project, how I view my role as a leader, how I see a team member, a peer, the politics in an org, a direct report, a client, directly affects the impact, or directly affects the effort that I want to give. And so our inner world affects our outer world. Whether it's with our family, whether you're a leader of a large organization, we affect the weather. In the room, we talk about that all the time. So first, start with what's going on in here, what's going on with my narrative and my mindset and my attitude about what I'm about to do, who I'm about to speak to, because what I think in here is going to affect what happens out there.
Yeah. One of our good friends, Rich James, would often say a leader can never have a bad day. Maybe you share your perspective, because we're not saying people have to be perfect, but certainly whether you're leading one person or you're leading a family or you're leading thousands, the impact is still the same.
Yeah, I think especially in leadership, it's a fine balance, right? You want to be authentic because you don't want your organization, your direct reports to think that you're a machine and that you never feel anything, you never have a bad day, you never make a mistake, you're never afraid. But there's also a balance that if you get stuck in that, then we can bring the weather down in the room. So I think what Rich meant by that was, we can almost never let them know that you're struggling so much inside that you actually create fear in the organization or worry or anxiety. But we come up against things all day in leadership. I mean, of course you do, where you're not sure if you can do this. You're not sure if you can get on stage and say this. You're not sure if you can make this change. But if you don't get in the right space before you do that, your inner world will affect your outer world.
Such a great point, Tina. If nothing else, over the last 3 years, this illusion of control has certainly been elevated and is transparent to everybody that we really don't have control. But these two things, I truly believe we're in control. What suggestions or ideas on how you can master your attitude and effort? Maybe share broadly, and then maybe share one or two specific things that you try to employ on a daily basis to ensure that you're mastering your attitude and effort.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I had the privilege of attending my first leadership session when I became a leader of a large organization team, and they sent me to this leadership course in my 20s, and I read the book that changed everything for me, which was Man's Search for Meaning. And Viktor Frankl was a prisoner in Auschwitz, and he later survived, but he lost his family, he lost everything. And so many people who made it through the camps attributed their lives to him, because he said, they have taken everything away from us, but they can't control how we think about ourselves in here. And as a 25-year-old, that was pretty profound for me. Wait, we have more control over how I see the world than I thought. That's up to me. And my mom also taught me, you get what you look for. If you look for good, you find it. You look for bad, you find it. And so, like you said, you don't want to silver line everything. You got to own what's happening in here. Not every day is going to be good. You can't just plow through and push it aside. But I really believe that we can choose our response to what's happening, which is what Viktor Frankl shared in that book. Even when we can't control the world outside, we can create some space to choose our response. And that's the practice. So the how-to, I'm always astounded, and it's really hard for me as well as everybody, especially with the amount of technology coming at us, that I think I just read a statistic that 76% of people, the first thing they do when they wake up is if they're working, is they check their email.
Wow.
And I just don't want to give my power away to the outside world when I'm just opening my eyes. I need to say, first of all, it looks like I'm awake. That's good. Looks like I made it through another day. That's good. Heart's beating, eyes can still see. All right, let's do this day. But then I have my own practice. I do yoga because I want to be grateful for the body that I have that does all the work that we do. But I don't want the outside world in before I'm checking in here and saying, how am I doing? How am I feeling? How did yesterday go? What is ahead for me today? What mindset do I want to have as I get ready for this LinkedIn Live, or as I have this meeting? When I hop off of this, I've got to meet a leadership team, and I know what their intentions are. What does that mean for me? I need to take a breath before. And so if there was one thing I can encourage everybody to do, is don't focus your attention outside first thing in the morning. Just be with you. What's going on here first? own that, and then decide.
Yeah, I love that. Create your environment. I like to reflect in the morning. Now, Tina, let's take the other side, effort. How do you define effort? Because sometimes people misunderstand and think it's about, I'm going to outwork you. Certainly, hard work is part of success, but how do you define effort for our listeners?
Yeah, I think, one of my favorite quotes is the antidote to exhaustion isn't necessarily rest, it's wholeheartedness. And that kind of really hit me one day. We could put our energy and our attention and our effort into a whole lot of stuff, but how do you discern what you choose to put your effort into?
Mm.
So mindset affects the quality of our effort, but you also need some type of compass that says, what do I want to put effort into? What is worth my effort? You get X amount of hours a day. We have energy, talent, time, attention that you're going to put into this effort. That's all part of effort. Who do you say yes to with a capital Y? Who do you say no to with a capital N? And then where do we start slicing away at our energy when we're saying yes, when we really should say no? And some of us are pleasers, so we like to put effort into everything, and then it all gets diluted. And at the end of the day, you're wondering, did I actually make any effort? Did I make an impact here? So to me, effort needs to be based on what your compass is, your values, your why, your purpose. So you know why you're saying yes. Even if it's hard, you know why you're saying yes to it. So it makes the effort worth it.
Well, we talk about purpose a lot, and I started off this session today. The reason we do LinkedIn Live with Steve White on a monthly basis is serves my purpose, which is trying to create that table of prosperity for as many people as possible. So really love that. Now, Tina, when you master your attitude and effort, there's a payoff, and it's not just for others, but
Yep.
you as well. So maybe you can share with our listeners what's the payoff for you, and just as important, what's the payoff for the men and women that might be following you, working side by side with you, or your family? What's the payoff?
Yeah. I don't want to be grandiose here, but for me it's freedom, which is one of my values. If I'm discerning and I'm very, very choiceful about where I put my effort, which is based on my mindset, it gives me the freedom to be with my family. It gives me the freedom to be in nature. It gives me freedom to take an impromptu phone call. When does that happen anymore? It creates some time in my calendar to be free, to say yes to other things that are really important to me, that are aligned with my own values and my own purpose and my own why. Instead of being, to me, the real payoff for me is not being in constant reactive mode.
Yeah.
That's just exhausting.
Yeah.
And then we're at the mercy of everything out there versus, my goals and my values and all this stuff is in here and I look at it every morning. I want to be putting effort towards that.
Yeah. I
Not
love that.
towards everything out here.
I love that, Tina. I know we only have a couple more minutes, so I'll go quickly. Success, and we talk about success, not as just career success, but we're talking about life success and
Yep.
living your purpose. It's not an individual sport. So talk about accountability, coaches, and support, identifying people that can help you on this journey, because we can't do this by ourselves. How do you think about accountability, coaches, and what advice would you give our listeners?
Yeah, my favorite thing that teams do, and you did it, Steve, and many of my leaders are willing to go there. If we share our hopes and dreams, our why, our purpose, our values with our peers, with our boss, they can hold us up. Our friends, we need truth tellers in our lives. And the higher up you go in an organization, you know this firsthand. It is really hard to find people who will be willing to be brave enough to be truthful with you and hold you accountable. But we all need people that know what's important to us. And we need to be courageous enough to say, this is really important to me. And keep telling my family I'm going to be home by 6, but I could take that extra call or stay with email. Can you help me make sure that I get home? Because it's too easy to get sucked into this stuff and for me to say yes because I'm trying to make an impression. So we have to have the courage. But if you're a leader, if you can make space for people to share that in your team meetings, that's where we can really lift each other up.
And the best way to attract accountability coaches is through vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Sharing with them that I'm not perfect, I need help. Will you be willing to help me? And I've never run across somebody who didn't want to be a teacher, coach, or support system. So, Tina, awesome. So, first of all, for our listeners, where can they find you? Where can they learn more about the soul purpose and you and what you're doing?
Yep, so I'm at www.thesoulpurpose, spelled SOUL.com. There's also a bunch of things there to help you with your inner world as a leader, and to help bring out collective intelligence. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well.
Great. Thank you, Tina. And I know you gave our listeners some great feedback. One of the ways I try to master my attitude and effort is number one, I wake up early. It is my sacred time where I put on my shield of armor, which allows me to prepare for each day. So start each day on purpose, as they say. And my effort is always tied to my purpose and why. That's where I give my energy. Oftentimes we have to do things we don't want to do, but my energy goes to serve my purposes. Thank you, Tina. Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for joining the August LinkedIn Live edition with Steve White. We'll see you in September. Another great session. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your summer.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.